scream? I'm not a rat. I'm a mouse, the one that lives in Tabitha's house. Who is Tabitha? Well, she's the one over there, sitting sewing in her chair. She really is the best, leaves me soft threads to line my nest. And when crumbs drop on her shiny floor, she gives me time to dash from my door, collect a tasty snack, and run back to my home before she comes with mop and broom to tidy up. Dust in the pan, spick and span. That's how it's done. Food for everyone. And how do I know that this is so? It's because I'm the mouse who lives in Tabitha's house. Are you ready for the rest of my tale? Its extraordinary content is off the scale. We start with Tabitha and her kind heart, famous here in Joppa for doing her part so selflessly, helping the poor and the needy, cleaning, cooking and gardening, no matter how weedy. But sewing with love is Tabitha's best gift. For whoever was sad or in need of a lift, she'd work until late, sewing in all the ends, pleating and stitching to make clothes for her friends. When the job was done and she'd made the best dress, the next day she'd give it to Sally or Bess and be glad that her gift brought along for a while to a careworn face the delight of a smile. And how do I know that she loved them so? It's because I'm the mouse who lives in Tabitha's house. But then the dreadful day came, when strangely things were not the same. Tabitha didn't drop crumbs or bake. Tabitha didn't even sew, for goodness sake. She stayed in bed all day, and then another, sweating and shivering under her cover. Her friends, so worried, arrived and stayed. That's when I began to be afraid. They wiped her head and held her hand, offered soup, and tried to understand what they could do to make her better. But although they prayed and called the doctor, dear Tabitha, she got worse and worse, and my pounding heart with sadness burst when I heard them say, "She's lost the fight. Tabitha's not with us tonight." They wept and cried and sobbed tears without end as they said goodbye to their faithful friend. And how do I know that this is so? It's because I'm the mouse who lives in Tabitha's house. I stayed in my hole all the next day. The women stayed too, to weep and pray. Their sadness swept through the darkened place as we remembered the kind, generous face of Tabitha, our dear, loving friend, whose life had come to such a sudden end. But then from my hole I heard a shout. "Hey, have you heard? Peter is about. He's down in Lydda, praying for the sick. Aeneas has been healed. Let's get there, quick." There were gasps and nods and wide-open eyes, a flicker of hope, and I saw faith arise. I felt it too, in my heart, in my gut. What if death's not the end, and heaven's not shut? They talked about Jesus who didn't stay dead, but came back to offer forgiveness instead. And now his spirit of kindness, I see, lived on in Tabitha, and could also change me. And how do I know that this is all so? It's because I'm the mouse that lives in Tabitha's house. It really wasn't long before the famous Peter was at the door. He arrived full of life with power in his stride, and politely ushered all the women outside. Left alone in the room, he knelt to pray. I watched from my hole, so glad I could stay. Then he stopped and spoke. His voice was loud. "Tabitha, get up!" It was his clear command. I held my breath as heaven waited. And Tabitha's eyes opened. And Peter, elated, offered his hand to help her to her feet, and he called the believers in from the street. There was clapping and cheering and praise to Jesus the King, who had given Tabitha back to us and could bring light in our darkness, hope in our night. Swap sadness for joy and blindness for sight. And how do I know that this is all so? It's because I'm the mouse who lives in Tabitha's house.